Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Far From Home. This is the show about examining what happens when you step outside the environment that shaped you and you try to build a life somewhere entirely new, one journey at a time. My guest today is developing his profile online, let's say. He's been uploading videos on YouTube for about a year now with some live streams. He's been sharing to the world his adventures or his mishaps and misadventures in several different countries. And yeah, he's also from my country of origin, Wales. And there's a few videos of his that caught my eye, which I'm really quite keen to dig deeper behind what I see on camera and what in Wales led him to be who he is. So thank you very much, Chrissy, mate. Thank you for joining the show today.
Legend Alex, thanks for having me, bro. This would be
You're
good. Nice little coffee chat between two Welsh guys.
yeah. I think when I share this on my Instagram, I'm gonna tell people this could be the first opportunity they've had to listen to two Welsh people actually talk.
Very cool.
Because
Very cool.
very cool. I feel like a bit of a unicorn sometimes when I introduce people and I say like I'm from Wales. They kind of go, "Ah." Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah,
As
I imagine you have that reaction too. Yeah.
it's like when people I meet people traveling, they said, "Oh, wait, where are you from?" And I'm like, I could say, London because most people would know where that is, but I go with a tack and I say Wales, and they're like, where? And I say Wales in the UK, and then they're like, we still don't know where it is, but if it's in the UK, okay, we kind of know. So yeah, West Wales on the Pembrokeshire coast is where I've grown up, and where I'm stationed now after my recent 3.5 months of misadventures around Asia.
Yeah, very cool. For me, yeah, I try to avoid using England as a point of reference until it becomes just impossible to ignore. I
Yeah,
usually say like I try the Gareth Bale approach before England gets into the conversation.
sure. And
Which I really do.
people always bring that up, like, oh, Gareth Bale, yeah, from Wales. That's it. Okay.
Yeah, better than Ryan Giggs, hey. But yeah, my first question is, you grew up in Wales, obviously. I'm really curious. How do you think growing up in Wales shaped the person you are today?
Um, you know, I think I come from a very small town. Um, growing up, there wasn't a great deal to do. And, I played sports growing up, football, rugby, did some boxing, and then I fell into in my early 20s, kind of CrossFit and more of like the bodybuilding aesthetic look. So I would say I've always had a very close relationship with fitness. And for those people who have kind of followed my journey and know a little bit of my story, for those people who don't, then I was a personal trainer and CrossFit coach before all of this travel stuff. And I was working in the likes of Cardiff, which is the capital city of Wales, and then I actually moved to Bristol, and I worked in another gym up there called David Lloyd's. So before all of this, I was heavily involved in fitness. So I'd say, for the most part, um, that's kind of what kept me on the straight and narrow, let's say, for the last kind of decade of my life. And going back to, the main answer to your question, I would say growing up in a small town in Wales when there's not a lot to do, I have fell into the trap of drink and drugs and various addictions when I was, um, in my late teens, early 20s, before going into the personal training fitness industry. And, I was very stuck in this kind of square mile radius of where I've grown up. Same people, same things, same day, same conversation, same everything. So I think by moving to Cardiff, which is about 2 hours away from where I am now, I think that really opened my eyes to see more of the world, even though it's just down the road. I just had a huge perspective shift of, I don't have to stay in my hometown and I don't have to work a traditional 9 to 5 society following job. I can actually stray a little away from some of the bad habits that I'd accumulated and I can start afresh. And that's where the journey kind of continued then into training and coaching CrossFit, which was about 3 or 4 years ago. I kind of stopped that because of various injuries. And yeah, so all of that kind of happened in West Wales. Again, where I'm at now with this podcast with you. And then, similar to probably most people, when COVID hit, I decided to explore more of the world. And we're probably missing out a large part of what you might be wondering, Alex, about me making a load of money online. That does fall into how this kind of
Mm.
translated as well. But to keep a long
Yeah.
story short, with that at the moment, um, I just I started traveling places like Paris and Italy and all of these kind of fancy, expensive places before I then went further afield to the places like Africa and Asia and those places. And yeah, I think it all stemmed from growing up in just having a very kind of normal routine and being someone who is very
Mm.
creative and likes to explore other parts of the world. I think naturally I fell into um, that trajectory. I'm not sure if that's a
Mm.
good answer or I've gone completely off the rails with it, but that's the answer.
No, no, yeah, yeah. Obviously, you mentioned a lot there. We will get to those different points. I've done my research. I'm aware of your origin story, let's say. But I do want to just kind of focus a bit more on growing up in Wales, because for me, I think our backgrounds are very similar. I grew up
Hmm.
in a very small town. Again, the usual trappings of growing up in rural Wales. Alcohol, same people, very little going on in the way of opportunities. Um, but yeah, for me, fitness never really entered the equation. Alcohol did. Alcohol is a big part of our identity growing up in Wales. Yeah, I'm curious, are there any particular experiences before you left the country, let's say? Anything that comes to mind, any early experiences that made you comfortable risk or a bit more restless so you really wanted to leave?
Um, if we're talking within, those times in my life where I was heavy into the party scene, let's say, and testing out with different substances, I was very heavy into that world for about 2.5 or 3 years. And
Mm.
I actually talked about this on the live stream on the channel the other evening. And I remember going on like a 3 or 4 day binge in my local town, like a big heavy binge, probably the biggest binge that I've had to date. And I recall walking home one morning, when the sun was coming up and I hadn't slept in multiple days, high on this, drunk on that. And I remember
Mm.
sitting on the edge of my bed when I got into my family's home and like crying into my hands and realizing like, wow, Chris, is this going to be your life? Is this what you're going to be doing, every day, every week for the rest of your life? And I kind of had this realization, and it must have lasted about 10, 15 minutes, this process of me with my head hanging in my hands, and something just clicked, because during all of this time when I was, this party guy and mischievous, I'd always had fitness to kind of keep me somewhat on the straight and narrow. And that time in my bedroom that morning after coming back from whatever it was I was doing, I made the decision to cut it all out, go completely cold turkey, and get my personal training certificate, move up to Cardiff, and start a new life as a personal trainer. And, maybe I would have had that realization if I hadn't done all of the party stuff that I did. Maybe that would have come on naturally as a timeline, but maybe it was enhanced and forced upon more so because I was doing what I was with all of the bad stuff. So that's when I decided, literally within the next week of me being on that bed and having that realization, I had moved up to Cardiff and I was starting my personal training career, as to say. Um,
Mm.
yeah.
Yeah, mad respect for your honesty and your sincerity when discussing these topics. I could see you thought about them a lot, and you've had lots of time to process the things that are happening in your life. But yeah, I really relate to that feeling of, yeah, this is not a story I've told online before, but some of my friends know when I used to drink when I was like 16, 17, on several nights out, I used to just like break down in tears. And it really make my friends think something's wrong with me. I thought something was wrong with myself. But it's just feeling like growing up in South Wales, like something isn't right, just in the place I am. And it's not like filling my cup or nourishing my soul or making me feel happy in life. But yeah, you're not the only one who kind of went through that.
Yeah. And like there's just a tendency, in let's say the UK as a whole, and I'm sure many other places around the world, but from I guess your and my experience, we start so early in our lives, like getting on to bad habits. We
Mm,
drink, we test out with drugs, and like that pattern, because it is so addictive, especially from my personal view of I'm so impulsive and I've got such an addictive personality where if I wasn't to put a cap on that and tame it, I literally think three things would be happening right now to me. I wouldn't be here because I'd be 6 feet under. The second is I
mm,
would be homeless and addicted to drugs, like the heaviest of drugs, or I would be in prison. Those are the three outcomes of what would have most definitely happened if I hadn't have realized, like, right, Chrissy boy, you need to get your together, mate. Otherwise, life is going to look
mm,
very bleak for you. So I just think, yeah, we've got this habit of growing up and just going out and getting trashed for 2 or 3 nights a week, watching a football, watching a rugby, having a bit of
mm,
sniff, mate, and like, just kind of losing the plot until maybe we find a girl, we get her pregnant, we fall into a job that we don't want to do, and we end up as miserable as the old people that we look up to in our lives, as we see in our lives, sorry, who have grown up in the local town and they haven't moved or done anything with their life but stay in the local pub and drink themselves into a coma. And it's
mm,
just like, if you don't have that awareness, your life trajectory is going to look very grey. And I think I'm
mm,
super fortunate and grateful that I realized that in my early 20s, I'd say, to then make the transition to make something better in my life. And I'm not saying I'm perfect. I've got an angel and a devil in me, and I still have to this day, that's for sure. And I love a beer as much as the other person, and I love a party still, but I've learned to control it. And I think that's the key. And maybe that's just come with some sort of wisdom and experience with age.
mm. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, what you're saying is really hitting home for me. Uh, yeah, I look back to the valleys. Obviously, the life expectancy is quite low. Um, what really shocked me growing up is just some of my classmates went to university, but most kind of just went back to the valleys right after university. I think there is just a lack of opportunity in the area, and you can't really. It's very good. It's very difficult to be what you can't see. And obviously, growing up, we are just surrounded by people who have less than stellar habits, and you just kind of end up copying them. Because it's a shame. Because yeah, for me, especially my early 20s, my bad habits I developed really held me back even into my early 30s. It's not until my recent years that I feel all my habits they're just pushing me forward now. I'm just following the momentum of what I built. Yeah, there's so much potential in the valleys with the people. There's a lot of passion. There's a lot of desire for art and creativity and purpose and an exciting way to live. But it's just something about that area just makes it very difficult for people to achieve what they want in life, I feel.
Mm. Yeah. And I think, for a lot of people is they want community, right? They want community in
Mm,
something. And when community is lacking, that be for me, it was being in the gym, whether I'm training on my own or I'm in a group training session, whatever it is, or maybe you're learning a language in a class, or you're in a walking or hiking group. People who don't go and seek positive um those positive, let's say, addictions, they
mm,
go and spiral into the more negative ones. And that's when, you go to the pub, you meet people who drink, then you meet people who do this and smoke and have other bad habits and stuff. So, yeah.
yeah, I hear you. So yeah, let's move on from your upbringing, let's say, and both of us growing up in Wales. So yeah, I'll talk about how I discovered your channel. I think it was the video you posted, I'm not rich, but I still travel the world. And
Hmm.
that kind of got me exploring the rest of your videos. And yeah, my first impression of you when I stumbled across your channel was that you were some kind of happy-go-lucky, crazy party boy, just living off the buzz of freedom and excitement that comes with travel. You've been in lots of different places. But yeah, I watched your recent live stream. You do have a quite an interesting origin story before you went. traveling. So you were a personal trainer in Cardiff. I think you started a business. And yeah, as you already mentioned, I believe you went on lavish European city breaks. I'm really curious about this particular chapter in your life in Cardiff. I'm curious where you are now. How do you look back on that time?
So this this actually fell after Cardiff and after Bristol when I was working in gyms there.
Hmm.
How I fell into this, and I think it was completely by mistake, was I remember working in Bristol in David Lloyd's, and I was working. Well, I was in the gym for like 9 to 11 hours a day, and I was like, I'm exhausted, I'm sticky, I'm sweaty, I'm getting more out of shape than the people that I'm trying to put in shape, and it's like something is just not working here, right? So I just remember a few afternoons, I see this guy come into the gym at weird times, because most people would be in a 9 to 5. It would be early in the gym. It would be busy in the gym in the morning, and it would be busy in the gym after 5 p.m. But I saw this guy come in, and he'd always be looking fresh, dapper. He'd have his earphones in, smiling. And I noticed the car he got out of, which was like an amazing souped up BMW. And I was like, I'm going to ask this guy what he does. Anyway, um, about a month later, after being so interested in like, how do I make money and not have to work for it? And like, how do I make money while I
The dream.
sleep? And yeah, so anyway, I had this idea of, because I was very in touch with sports supplements and nutrition, being a personal trainer and having done that most of my life, I thought of the idea of creating my own private label supplement company. And because I didn't have any money, because I was on £1,200 a month and I was living in Bristol for £800 a month rent, I was like, this guy that I met was actually an entrepreneur in Bristol. So I was like, this guy probably has a little bit of money to invest. If I can come up with the right business proposal, maybe I can pitch him and then we can do something together. I can get an investment from him and then we can start this, whatever it is that I've got in my head that I want to escape the 9 to 5 world with. So about a month later, anyway, I pitched him this idea and he invested in the the idea. We set up a company, a bank, and everything. And about 2 months later, we launched our first product, which was like an appetite suppressant supplement. Anyway, we launched that, and after a few weeks, we got to the top of page one for the majority of our keywords on Amazon, and this was based on Amazon UK. So we were selling this solely on Amazon, this one product to start. And we sold it for about 16 or 17 pound or $20 for those US viewers. We bought it for about £3.50. So our margins were about 15-20% on this product. Anyway, this product like blew up. It got to the top of page one. We were beating the likes of like Optimum Nutrition, Reflex, all those big companies. I managed to get more reviews than any of these guys, and sales came in at the hundreds of units a day. So from this point, I had already moved back to Wales to live with my dad to save on
Hmm.
rent. I also went through a breakup with a girl that I was living with in Bristol. So it kind of all tied in very well in a sense. I wasn't spending money. I was working on the business. Now I was making, well, at the peak, 50, 60,000 pound a month selling these products. And that's when I had, a year later, 20 products on Amazon, and they were all doing really well. Where
Hmm.
were we? Am I rambling? I feel like I'm rambling. I'm going to stop and have a sip of coffee a
No,
minute.
no, it's fine. Uh, enjoy your coffee, yeah. No,
Um,
keep spitballing. It's really interesting to hear all this. Me.
yeah. So then, we decided that I was going to take some money from the business. So, my business partner and I put me on £400 a month to live on. And I was like, that's all right. Living with my dad, not no expenditure. Perfect. So then with that money, I started, booking a Ryanair flight, a cheap flight to Paris. And then I'd go to Lake Como in Switzerland. And then I'd go to Italy. And I was like, this £400 a month just isn't, it isn't cutting it to do, to stay in these fancy hotels
Yeah.
and eat this nice food. So then, because I was so immature with, let's say, business and inexperienced with having so much money, I started to take money out of the ATM like the world tomorrow isn't promised. And then I started to move money from the business account over to my personal. And before I know it, I was staying in these fancy hotels in Paris, eating this food, buying designer clothes. And then I'd wake up in the morning and I'd bought a BMW i8 supercar. And I was already living in like a top floor apartment as well. So, and then I also, I got an Audi S3. And then at one stage I had another BMW, and I was like, you know, life was good. Like it was amazing.
Mm.
Money was coming in. I was sleeping. I wasn't, it was good until the moment where I think my accountant and business partner rung me. He's like, Chris, your spending has gone out of control here. And I kind of knew it, but I kind of lacked care at that stage because I was 24, 25 years old at this stage. Um,
Mm.
so from there, things went completely Pete Tong, sour, sideways, and the cars end up getting repossessed. I couldn't afford the apartment anymore, so I was forced to move out of that apartment. The business partner left the business, so now I was on my own to pay all of these taxes and all the BS that comes with that. So that business closed. All of the stuff I bought in terms of material possessions got sold or repossessed. And that's when then my secondary fitness journey came into play. And I started training CrossFit like my life depended on it. And that was my outlet. After all of that business stuff went downhill, I was like, right, my new drive, passion, and purpose is to get as good
Mm.
as a sport as CrossFit as I possibly can, which was me kind of escaping what I'd left behind. But it was also something that I could really put some positive energy into. Otherwise, at one stage, I was like, F this. I'm going to get back on the beers. I'm going to get back on all of the stuff that I wanted to do before. But I was aware enough to think, you've got to channel this into a positive outlet. Otherwise, you'll probably be 6 feet under in 12 months, Chrissy Boy.
Yeah. That's kind of like, because I'm really curious what this did to your sense of identity in a way. That's quite a radical change going from being such a, I think it's called like a Henry in the UK, high earner, um, to, let's say, more humble living. Uh, how did you balance that inside yourself? I guess, and I imagine your friendship group changed radically during that time too. How did people treat you differently?
Yeah. I think I had a load of ego when I had this money. I was like, I am the dog's bollocks. And I thought like I was kind of untouchable and this money would just last forever.
Yeah, I would
And,
probably feel the same.
yeah, and it does, and I had a
Mhm.
great time, like, spinning around in the supercar. I had a great time going to these places in Europe. I don't regret it because, for one, it's gave me a huge amount of experience and also financial management. I know what it's like to have a lot of money, and I know what it's like, again, years later after this happened, to have pretty much no money. So
Mm.
it's been a really good experience, and I also like to just have stories to tell. I don't want to be the guy sitting, across you with a coffee or a meal and being a mute. I want, if you ask me,
Mm.
tell me a story, and I've got multiple stories that I can pick up on, whether that's been great or disastrous, and I can tell that story. So I don't shy away from life experiences because life is short anyway, so we might as well go for things, and it's better to fail than not try at all. But yeah, the kind of shift, if I'm honest, looking back after some reflection on that time of going from such a lavish lifestyle to more of a simpler, straightforward routine, let's say, is, in all honesty, I don't think that I've even faced the totality of it to this day. In all honesty, I haven't
Mm.
gave it much thought. I didn't think about it much. I kind of just skipped from A to B as if it was going to be my fresh life, and I've hidden it. I've probably ran from it. I know I've ran from it, and there's an escapism there that I haven't faced yet, and maybe in years to come I will. I just haven't
Mm.
at the moment, because it's quite a tough thing, right? And I guess owning up to that realization of that difference is probably going to take a lot of emotional toll, and I just haven't got the patience for that at the moment. So when I have,
Yeah.
maybe I'll open my heart and soul up to that experience and face it head on. But for now, I haven't. So you could say I've ran from it, and I'm continuing running at the moment.
Yeah, like I said, because I kind of reckon with my demons, I got to like I think the third year or fourth year of living abroad, and there's this phrase obviously among the traveling community, you can't run from your problems; they will catch up with you. Um, so yeah, I would, yeah, I wish you all the best, of course. Take care of yourself, but I'm sure that day will come when you do have to inevitably face it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I hope you, yeah, it's not easy. But if you ever come to Shanghai and face it, you're more than welcome. I'll help you through it.
Thank you very
Okay,
much.
so you're welcome. So we talked a lot about your upbringing, your history. I want to get to the travel now. So when you decided to, I guess, leave Wales and start traveling, was that a form of conscious reinvention, or was it more of an escape? What pushed you to kind of start traveling and documenting on a GoPro or a phone or whatever you're using to record?
Yeah. So after that section in the timeline that I was training CrossFit, this was this went through COVID, and this was probably a year after COVID, where I started to pick up some injuries in CrossFit, and I kind of grew a little tired and bored of the sport. And I was like,
Mm.
what do I what do I potentially do now? I've gone from fitness to a business to CrossFit. Like, what else can I do? And for people who don't know, I've actually been traveling on and off for the last kind of 8 to 10 years. Me and my brother go on a big trip together every year. The first one we went on was we traveled East Africa for a whole month. And then we've been on
Mm.
cruises and European trips. And this year was Indonesia. So I'd always been out of the house in different countries traveling, even throughout the business, the CrossFit, the fitness, and even the drink and drug stage of my life. So I'd always had like some wonderless exploration side of myself. And it was then after COVID, about a year after COVID, where I decided to stop training and coaching CrossFit. And I started to make these mini trips to Edinburgh and the Scottish Highlands. And I would go and just explore these nearby cities to the UK. And that's when I started to develop a kind of, I started to enjoy traveling again and moving around outside. And it was
Mm.
one day where my friend Duncan called me. He's got a YouTube channel, Curly Kid Life. He's just passed like 1 billion views, which is crazy. Anyway, he called me and he said, "Look, mate, I want to go to Thailand. I want to go and travel Thailand and then Southeast Asia for 3 months. What do you reckon?" And I was like, "Sounds good, but I'm a little skint at the moment." And so I managed to get some money together. And the next thing, a few days before going, Duncan said to me, "Mate, you've been traveling on and off for a good period of time now. Uh, I want you to start documenting your travels." And I was like, "What on earth does that mean? How do I do that? Do I write it in my diary, or what do I do?" And he pretty much picked me up that day and he took me to a local camera shop in Carmarthen, nearby town, and he bought me my first GoPro. So just like that, he bought me the GoPro. He knew I didn't have money, like amazing support from my best friend. And a few days later, we flew to Thailand, and I probably vlogged and uploaded 3 or 4 times a week during that first Thailand trip. We traveled Thailand for 6 weeks before moving on to Laos. And where else did I go then? I think I went back to Thailand, and that's how it all started. I set the YouTube channel. I learned how to vlog, and I'm still improving now. Sometimes I'm just disastrous in front of camera, and that's kind of where it started. It started 18 months ago in Thailand, thanks obviously to Duncan having the awareness of going, what is Chris going to do now, mate? Let's get him a camera so we can go off on his travels and hopefully show some people who subscribe and watch the channel some different parts of the world. And that's kind of where it all kicked off. And the rest is history at this time in my life, anyway.
Yeah, but yeah, thank you for sharing your travels online because they are wildly entertaining.
Yeah,
Um,
thank you.
yeah, when I was younger, I went a bit hard on the travel. I lived in hostels for like I think it was like a year and a half, volunteering and going quite hard. But obviously, it does catch up with your physical and mental health. But yeah, for me, I kind of knew I'd never want to go back to the UK, so I kind of built a career as a serious teacher. That's where I am now. But yeah, I kind of find myself thinking again, what if I just start documenting online and travel and trying to make a go of it again? Where would that lead to? But yeah, as part of your channel, you consistently put yourself in unpredictable situations. Let's say I've seen you in like dealing with scams, rough neighborhoods, to be as political, yeah, PC as possible, sleeping rough.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess why do you like chaos is always like a what follows naturally from traveling, but for you it seems like you actively chase it. So why yeah, why do you chase chaos? Is it like curiosity? Is it compulsion, or is it yeah just for the views? I guess.
It's definitely not for the views. I always say, and most people might call me out on that and say that's BS. Everything's for the views, and at the end of the day, it's supposed to be a business model as well as like my own adventures. So maybe that's right. Subconsciously, I know
Yeah.
that. I think, but I am just I'm very social. I've got a bunch of energy, which I like to, release by getting
Mm,
out to the world. And I think, chasing the discomfort when I sleep rough in countries and do challenges with no money, which I need to actually do more of. I think that stems from a little bit of suffering, putting myself through the ringer of not coming to terms with the previous stuff in my life. So I'm like punishing myself a little
mm,
bit. And I've actually just come to that realization right now on the podcast. So I'm not sure of how that's going to look, but I also enjoy not being in my comfort. I also enjoy not having creature comforts for extended periods of time. I like to be in
mm,
unpredictable, almost chaotic and awkward situations. I like to feel discomfort because for 99% of the people out there, comfort is a thing that holds them back, and it comfort is the doorway to not much happening in your life. So more comfort doesn't
mm,
necessarily mean a good life. And I just think if I can break through discomfort and get comfortable with being in more um dark situations, I think it's a good thing. And when you come out of
mm,
those situations and you wake up in the morning after sleeping rough in Denmark and stuff like that, it kind of it's a nice feeling, as strange as that sounds.
mm.
Um
Yeah,
so
but I
yeah.
must say I have been worried about your let's say sometimes watching the videos. I respect your drive to push yourself. I'll say that.
Thank
But
you.
yeah, allow yourself to sleep comfortably at least. I would say.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
but I think yeah, I think the video that went viral that even caught my attention was obviously this figure of you can travel full time on £350 a month. And I've seen you, hold up your phone to the camera showing the most ridiculously cheap flights with ridiculous layovers. Uh, yeah, I'm too old for that. But I admire your
Yeah.
determination. But I kind of want to explore that reality because when I used to travel hard, it must be like nearly 8 years ago now. I was in Brazil. I was living off like 50 quid a week. I was working in a hostel, getting like free food, free drinks, free access to nightclubs, free access to boat parties, free access to, just Brazil is so fun anyway. I barely spent anything. Um, yeah, it's fun for a while. You live that kind of mindset. But I found eventually I really burnt out on it, and life happens, and you do actually need money. Um, and obviously, I passed the difference. I went into like a stable teaching career. You went into like growing a YouTube channel and being your best self, and just channeling your energy into doing
Mhm.
into following your curiosities, compulsions. And I love that. I love that you show people that back home. But and I love that you show travel can be inexpensive, and all you really need to do is just have the mindset. Be open to opportunities. But yeah, is that really your budget that you live off a month? And how often do you stick to that budget? Yes.
Yeah, so YouTube at the moment, and I'm open with the earnings from YouTube, and people can either believe this or not. So I, at the current stage, through YouTube ads, I earn anywhere from 300 to £400 a month, right? Which is about $500 US. Um,
Mm,
so I've broken this down for people many a times, and I break this down on live streams on my channel. Is I'm not talking when I say I live on £350 a month and I travel full time. I am not talking about I am going from Thailand to Brazil back to Asia, and then over to Europe. That is not what I'm saying, right? That would
Mm,
not be achievable. What I do is I like to go to a certain country, and I spend a lot of time in one particular place in that country. For example, and I think I gave this example on the video that you're referring to, the £350 when I'm in Bangkok, and I've done this several times. I've spent nearly 8 months in country in Thailand this year. So that £350, to break it down for you very simply, is I find cheap rooms, not hostels, on Airbnb. So, for example, I've
mm,
got a place that I stay in Bangkok in the district of Onut, for anybody who's familiar. I get this single bedroom with a shared kitchen and a shared bathroom for £170 for the month. Okay, £170 for the month. Perfect. So now a huge cost is taken care of. That is my accommodation. And because I'm a
mm,
frequent gym goer, I'm always looking for a nearby gym. So this place now, about 10 minutes from where I stay, there's a gym, and it's called The Quarter. If anyone wants to fact check me, The Quarter in Onut, and you can get a month gym membership and pool access and some free snacks and co-working space for £15 for the month. All right, so now I'm up to 185 quid for the month. Perfect. And from there, I don't spend much more than about £3 a day on food. All right, so that's, let's round that up to another 100. So now we're up to, 280 or 90 quid. Now from there, I'm pretty sorted, right? I've got my bed, I've got my food sorted because I eat pretty much nothing but rice, ramen, and tins of tuna and bananas. Right, that's pretty much my diet when I'm traveling, and just water. I just drink bottles of water, like it's going out of fashion. And okay,
mm,
coffee too, coffee too. So I keep it really, really cheap. £3.50 a day, which is about £100 or less on food. So now I've got my accommodation sorted, I've got my food sorted, I've got my gym sorted, and for these three things alone, Chrissy Boy is a very happy man, right? But now, earning anywhere between 300 and 400 quid, usually I would have another 50 or 60 pound to play with. And this, for people
mm,
who watch the channel, this is where I will go and treat myself to a few stubby beers from 7-Eleven. This is when I'll go out with my friend Duncan and we'll have a couple of beers in Bangkok. And this is when I will book a £2 15-hour train from Bangkok up to Chiang Mai, and I will stay there for 5 days, stay in a £1.50 hostel, eat again nothing but rice and bananas before coming back down. You can do that also. You spend £20 for a bus and a ferry. You can go from Bangkok all the way down to Koh Samui. You can stay in a beach hut down there for a couple of pound a night, or a hostel for a little less. And that is the extra 50 or 60 pound that makes up the chunk of my monthly income into traveling around that specific place in country. By the end of the month, I am completely tapped out. I've got like a couple of pence to my name, but that is how
mm,
I'm able to do that on such a strict budget. Also, I'm very disciplined with money. It doesn't seem so much so if you're watching my videos, because it seems like I'm a complete idiot, which you're not wrong also. But
mm,
I have got a certain level of discipline to know for most of the month, I've got to be really strict. And for maybe the last 5 to 7 days of the month, I'll go a little wild and enjoy myself
mm,
more. But that's the reality. It's not glamorous. For the most part, it's not enjoyable. It's pretty mundane and boring. But that is the reality for me at my current stage with my income and earnings of how I travel full time.
mm. Yeah. Thank you for being so honest and transparent about your earnings and how you manage your money. I really respect your discipline. Because for a lot of people, they hear that and they think, no way, that's not for me. But yeah, you really make it work.
Yeah,
Yeah, and as your channel grows, your earnings will increase, and I'm sure you'll have a few more stubby beers on
exactly.
the streets of Bangkok. But yeah, for me, I feel like we've kind of gone directions. Obviously, you started in your early 20s with starting your own business, and you've kind of gone from being a high earner to living simply. I spent most of my mid 20s living simply, and now I've kind of worked my way into like a career, and I'm having that conversation in my head, like, how much money do I really need to be happy? And our life is so short on this earth. am I better off living this balanced lifestyle where I have like a nice career, nice home. I can save. I can probably retire early. I can afford to visit any country I want during my school holidays. Um, or would I just be better off? All I need is like a couple of hundred to be happy. Would I be better off just flying to Koh Phangan or Chiang Mai and starting a YouTube channel and following my curiosity? I like going to the gym. Gyms are quite inexpensive in Thailand. Yeah, I started this podcast because I want to have more conversations, more interesting people that I don't really get from teaching anymore. Um, so yeah, what would you say to me, having listened to all that? Um,
It's a tough one. I always, the first thing I look at if someone was to say, how do I travel full time? First of all, I'll say, how easy is it for you to even travel? Not travel full time, travel, just go for
mm,
a month to Thailand. Because for the most part, people have got responsibilities and commitments, right? They've got a wife or a girlfriend, they've got a dog, they've got a full-time job, and they might have a second job, they've got a mortgage, they've got a car with payments, and everything else that life throws at you. You've got to spend time with family, you've got to spend time with friends
mm,
and other stuff. So I'm just very fortunate that I've kind of led myself on this trajectory to not have any commitments and at the moment no responsibilities. So no misses. I've got £10 outgoings per month through my bank, and that's for like design on Canva and some GoPro app. So that's okay. I've got no car payments, I've got no fixed rent. So first of all, I'd say you just need to look at what responsibilities and commitments you have, and if you can let them
mm,
go easy. And if so, and you really want to travel, let them go easy and then fly away. But otherwise, it might take a few months or maybe even a year before you actually go. There's
mm.
stuff you need to I'm talking as a like a responsible adult now. There's stuff you need to sort out as an adult to be able to do the things you might want to do. And I think that comes with a
Yeah,
lot of the society's restrictions.
yeah. I've been quite a good boy in the last few years, let's say. Yeah, I have no commitments. I'm single with no kids, and that's probably not going to change. I'm not looking to get married or have kids. I like trying new things in my life.
Yeah,
Um,
good.
but yeah, for me, it's just like I feel like, do I want to be that responsible in life, or do I want to be a little crazy? Do you know what I mean? I can follow the path I'm on. I'm going to live a very comfortable life now, but it's hard to get in this position and be very fortunate, very lucky. But if I'm like the day to day, my heart just isn't pumping as a teacher anymore. I kind of just want to do something a little bit crazy. That's kind of what's attracted me your YouTube channel. You're living that kind of life. I'm weirdly having a bit, maybe like a quarter midlife crisis in my head about. Um, yeah, but I hit some like financial milestones. Like I could live in Thailand for a year without work, build something online. Like the possibility is there, and I find myself thinking, what if I did?
Yeah, exactly. And like, you're probably thinking that you can live in Thailand for a year on the savings you've got. You could probably live a lot
Mm.
more if you were to be more disciplined, right? Um,
Yeah, yeah.
so
If I was on your budget, I'd get like 2 or 3 years.
yeah, exactly. I mean, that's
Uh,
not going to be like amazing living, but you'll definitely be living in Thailand, sipping a few
mm,
beers, uh, living in a beach hut, surrounded by good looking women, positive vibes. The
mm.
weather is great. The food is cheap.
Yeah,
Um,
I don't drink alcohol, but yeah, the food is just my love type food, and the weather, the sunshine every day. I mean, yeah, it gets quite cold up in Shanghai way.
yeah, yeah,
And when I
exactly. I'm
when I
sure.
first left, yeah, when I first left Wales, I always dreamed like just living in a place that's sunny every day. Yeah, China's been very good to me, but it's not sunny every day. And again, I just found out something, maybe fuck it. But yeah, I'm getting too responsible to do that at this point in life.
I think, whether it be, I'm super interested in like Colombia and South American countries. I've been to
Mm,
Central America, Guatemala, Colombia, Peru, some other places. And, the 2026 is probably going to be the year of Latin America for me. But since we're talking
mm,
about kind of cheapness and I've got more experience in Asian countries, I would say if you want to like just pack up shop and not look back, don't check the rear view mirror. You could definitely live comfortably, let's say much better than I do, on about £600 or £700 in Thailand. And
mm.
that is you can get a beach hut, and I'm not talking like a wooden hut. You can get a bungalow, let's say, on the beach of Koh Phangan or Koh Samui for 350 a month, £400 max. Right. So then, that's a big cost taken care of. You're right on the beach. You've got the good food, the weather, the vibes there. I think people need to look at what else do you need in order to be happy every single day? What is going to negate
Mm,
certain stresses in your life? And how much money do you really need? And I mean, how much money do you need not to want material possessions that you want to acquire, but how much do you really need to live a good, full life? And that's kind of the way that I do it. Yes, I struggle
mm,
a lot in terms of money, especially in the last week when I'm traveling. But I also take a step back and look at things and go, I don't have to answer to a boss. I can wake up whatever time I want. All I have to do is I need to make a video 3 or 4 times a week and post it online, and if I'm
mm,
consistent with that over the next year or 2 years, that money is only going to increase and life is going to get gradually better and easier for me. And I think people,
mm,
they're so fearful of making that step it's one step and their life can change right here. They can go from stressed and, fat and lazy and miserable to something that is completely the polar opposite by just taking action. I think most people miss out on the the space between idea and action. This is what kills dreams right here. Idea, action. This is what does it for people. And for me, I'm very
mm.
kind of sporadic and impulsive, and I act immediately on the things I want to do because you never know what tomorrow brings. And I think people just need to go after what they want, because at the end of the day, you're going to wake up soon. You're going to be 90 years old, and you would have wished that you had created a different life for yourself.
Mm. Yeah, I totally agree. Yeah, the biggest difference between like, thinkers, educated, uneducated, it all depends on who took action or not. It's kind of that simple. You got to take action in life. But yeah, you shared another really video that I kind of respect. Obviously the days on the road are quite chaotic. But yeah, I think you shared a video of you, I think it was in Thailand, yeah, it was obviously a cheap room. It looked quiet. You said this was like 95% of your reality. I am curious, kind of like what's the emotional reality of those off-camera hours when you just sit in your room by yourself at the end of the day? What do you, how do you, what are your thoughts? How do you ruminate and how do you deal with them?
For the most part, a lot of people who watch these videos on YouTube, be it mine or other channels, we very rarely are we filming all day. It might be an hour of our
Mm,
24 hours that you're seeing. Sometimes it might only be 5 minutes. Other days it might be, 3 or 4 days if you're doing more of a journey slash expedition style vlog. Um, but I've got certain disciplines and habits that I reinforce in my day, such as I love to just go on long walks. I'm talking 6, 7, 8 mile walks. So that takes
same.
up a
I
lot of
love
my,
it.
yeah, exactly right. That is just great for, getting your steps in, fitness, mental and physical well-being, all of that stuff. And it takes a good chunk of your time to go walking for 10 miles,
Yeah.
right? Also, I'll hit the gym pretty vigorously. I'm trying to get back in shape at the moment, so please bear with me, people. And then, I tend to just kind of you kill time in the best way you possibly can. I edit videos that takes much longer than recording them. I don't know what I do. I walk around, I eat food, I meet up with birds and have a good time there.
Mm,
I'll have a few beers and what do people do in their day usually to kill
yeah.
hours?
You keep busy
Exactly
with
this.
the simple pleasures, I guess we could say.
Yeah, exactly. And like, especially if I'm traveling in a day and, from the other week, I went from Bangkok down to Hoi Hin. Hoi Hin is a city south of Bangkok, and that took like 4 hours out of the day. So you get down to Hoi Hin and it's 2 p.m. by the time you've left. Then you're looking for a hostel or a hotel. That's another 2 hours. You go and explore for a bit. You grab a moped. That's another 3 hours gone. And before you know it, it's 10 p.m. in the evening. And now you need to edit a video. Right. That takes you to midnight. So for a lot of the time, I'm actually not sitting there twiddling my thumbs thinking what to do. There's a lot of stuff that just comes with taking time up with travel.
Mm, yeah, I totally agree. Yeah, before we move on to some of your favorite places, I imagine there's lots of people thinking, well, probably waiting for me to ask these questions. Uh, yeah, what do you worry about, like an injury, a lost phone, illness that you can't recover from, retirement? What would you say to people who obviously think those things when hearing your story?
It's funny you asked that because I'm not sure if you know, but I came off a
I did see,
taxi
yeah, yeah. I think you
mo
hurt your arm. Yeah,
yeah, it was not too bad. We got a little scar there, but not
not
too
bad.
bad. And then I botched up my knee a bit, hit my head a little bit, but no more deranged now than I was before. It's all good. So I came off a taxi moped in Bangkok the other day. It was stupid. I wasn't wearing a helmet. Do as I say, don't do as I do. And the bike skidded, came off because it was raining. And the first thing as I was skidding down the road, luckily not being hit by any cars that were coming, was I haven't got any travel insurance. I never now for the last year have taken out travel insurance, and that is simply because I've been like waved away by 3 or 4 travel insurance companies from stuff that has happened in the past. I got bitten
Yeah,
by a spider in San Diego and it like got infected. I went to the hospital and my travel insurance wouldn't pay it out. 2 years ago, I fell off a moped in
yeah,
Thailand.
bastards, man.
Yeah, wouldn't pay out. So um, I've kind of just stopped worrying in that sense of the word, which is kind
Yeah,
of ill-witted of me because I haven't got any financial backing to bail me out if something more serious was to happen. But I don't,
yeah,
I know I've just got this kind of tunnel vision of I'm just going to do my thing and whatever happens, I will deal with it, be it, high consequence or low consequence. And that's kind of my
yeah.
very simple brain, the way it works. I'm not a big overthinker when it comes to that stuff.
Mm. Yeah, I guess to kind of confirm your thought process, possibly quite dangerously. I know lots of people in Thailand who have been turned away by insurance. Obviously, it's a bit of a taboo to say you travel without insurance. Don't recommend it ultimately. But it's not this golden safety net that people think it is. And I think
No.
you do have to kind of make peace with that. Yeah,
Yeah, and especially I was, in Pakistan a few months ago. I couldn't even get travel insurance to go Pakistan. So I was like, you know what?
yeah.
Yeah,
Mm.
I'm gonna leave it.
Mhm. So yeah, I want to move on to your favorite countries now. We'll get to Pakistan in a bit because I'm really interested in Pakistan because I've not been there. But yeah, I
Amazing.
think looking through your videos, Thailand clearly has gravity for you. I think most of your videos are there, possibly. Why does that place keep calling you back?
It's also funny you say that because I've got like extreme Thai fatigue at the moment. Like I could honestly not go back to Thailand for the foreseeable future as I feel right now because I know
Mm,
I've spent well, a lot of time in country over the last 18 months. And I think the way that I fell in love with it was obviously it was my first big travel with my best mate, and that's when it all started with the GoPro and the channel. So I've kind of got something in my heart for Thailand, and it's just the easeability and convenience of traveling around Thailand is like no other, right? It's just so
yeah,
easy. Everything is accessible. It's cheap. The Thai people are fun and friendly. It's good to get around, and it's got mountains, it's got beaches, it's got cities. There's a lot that keeps you busy on a tight budget. And I think that's why I
mm,
have kept going back, but won't for a while. Yeah, I think it's a good traveling destination. And
yeah,
everything just seems to fit into place in Thailand.
yeah. I feel like for me, like Thailand and Vietnam as well, they're kind of more my home now than Wales. They feel much easier to live in, much easier to want to go back to. Um, yeah, and just sunny. But yeah, I'm really curious about Pakistan now because Pakistan, yeah, I've not been to. Can you tell me what made you decide to go there in the first place?
Pakistan, what a time. Whenever someone brings it up, I'm like, the hospitality that I was shown there was incredible. But the reason why I actually went there was I was looking at Afghanistan and those certain places in Asia. And I was like, all right, before I go to the likes of Iraq and Afghanistan and those places, where else can I go? So earlier on this year, I traveled India for about 4 or 5 weeks. And I was like, India is amazing. It's crazy. It's chaotic. The Indian people are like fun and energetic. And it was almost like being in a video game. India it is an attack on every sense of the word in terms of your
Yeah,
sensory
every
systems.
every visceral
And
sense will be overloaded.
oh, completely. And I was like, okay, I know that um, the other side of India is Pakistan. And I was like, it's got a rich history and a combination between the two countries. What if I went to Pakistan? Now, when I put those plans in place and I booked a flight to Karachi, which is Pakistan's former capital city, people around here, like my family and friends, they said, Chrissy Boy, you are absolutely insane, mate. Pakistan, they said, is full of terrorism and Taliban, and it's good meeting you because we probably won't see you again. And that was the kind of perception towards it. I took that as kind of as it was. I've made my decision. I want to go and see for myself, feel the emotions, and see the country for what it truly is, as opposed to what people might think it is like. And
Mm.
I went there. I kind of fitted in very naturally to Pakistan. I started in Karachi for 7 days and everything just worked out so well. You know, I got welcomed by the locals with open arms, with kindness that I've never been shown in any other countries. I had locals um like wanting to pay for inter-country flights for me from Karachi to Skardu up in the north. They would not let me pay for food, motorbike taxis, accommodation. And within that month, I spent about £300, so about $400 in that entire 3.5 weeks I was traveling Pakistan. And I think the warmth and hospitality was as a big one for me. The
Mm.
overall culture and again the attack on the sensory systems came from all angles, so it kept me buzzing and awake and very aware to new experiences. I went over to the Afghanistan border to the city of Peshawar. That was amazing. And then I ended my journey up in the northern regions of Skardu, which is near like the Himalayan mastiffs, before then going back to Karachi through Islamabad, the current capital, and flying then to Indonesia. But you know, ever since I've left Pakistan, I've been wanting to go back. So hopefully, fingers crossed, all going well. Come January 2026, I have found a flight from London to Karachi for £84 or less. I think it might even be £74. So I'll be
How long? How
heading
long?
back.
How long does that take?
I think it's 15 hours. I think there's a stop
That's not
in
too bad.
Istanbul. So two
Mm.
flights, stop in Istanbul for 5 hours, and then it's 5 hour flight either way.
Yeah, I do not know how you find these £80 flights because I consider myself quite an expert Skyscanner, and even I struggle to find an £80 flight. But you seem to do it
Mate,
quite often. With what you
I
show me on
cannot
your notes.
I cannot believe that I found that flight. Honestly, I was like awestruck. I found that direct 12.5 hour flight from Bangkok to Copenhagen in Denmark, right? It was
Mm.
£84. It was 84 quid. I was like, mate, something's gone up here. So I booked that flight. And then I found like a convenient flight from Denmark to Bristol in England for 13 quid. You know, I've got back from Thailand to my home in Wales for 100 quid less. So it's like, mate, people think you need a lot of money to travel. I've shown it on the
Yeah, you really don't.
screenshots. You don't, mate. You
The
don't.
the cheapest I've done, I think, is Bangkok to Amsterdam. I think there's a flight route there. That's about £130. But I know, I mean, mad respect for 180. I'm determined to find that level of uh, yeah viability myself.
Mate, so
Um,
and that another thing, this is like the wildest, cheapest long haul flight that I've ever found. When I was in Indonesia after Pakistan, I was traveling with my brother there for a month. I was like, I didn't really bode too well with Indonesia. I just like, I don't know, for one, the infrastructure of the roads was like terrible and I couldn't walk, which was
mm,
something that I like to do. Anyway, so I was looking forward to a next stage of travel after that. And I was going to fly to Mumbai in India. And then after that, because India is so intense, I would most likely fly out of Mumbai back to London, coming back to hometown. I found a flight from Mumbai to London, and I swear on my life, this flight was 10.5 hour direct, and it was £28, 28 quid. And
like,
that
how
was
does that
from,
happen? I don't
I know, that was a
know.
month then. I would be booking that in advance for a month. I didn't book it because I went to
Yeah,
Australia after, but like it's crazy. If you do some research and really look, some cheap flights
yeah, yeah. So I guess you do have to kind of plan in advance, though. Yeah.
for the most part, I think.
Mm. Yeah, I mean that's fine. Builds up excitement.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, for sure.
for sure. Uh, so yeah, obviously you've said 2026 is the year of Latin America. I'm really curious, like, what's your long-term vision moving forward with your channel and your life, and what are you looking to experience and achieve and do? Are you just planning to continue to have more crazy adventures and document it and build a following online and meet people? Have you given it much more long-term thought on
I really haven't, if I'm honest. I really
that?
haven't. I've got this kind of deep-rooted philosophy where, life is so short. Planning for the future is maybe something that's not the best idea for myself because, the way that I
Mm,
live, maybe I'm not going to reach an older age, whatever age that may be. So I tend to
well,
not make these like 5-year plans or anything. The most I will plan in advance is a couple of weeks. Um, just
mm,
because again I've got this philosophy that anything can happen. A lot of stuff has happened to people around me at the click of a finger, so it's something that I live kind of day to day with and try and really focus on the present day and present moment and enjoy that.
mm,
um but honestly, for now, the two plans that I have is I'm going to go to Morocco on like the 20th of November for a week or 10 days, travel through. And then December, the mid December next month, I'm going to go to the Scottish Highlands and do a load of hikes. Apart from that, I really haven't got much planned, no cement plans. And as far as, what the future holds, I'm not sure. The future's unwritten. But I'm just going to
mm.
keep enjoying adventures, sharing them online, and kind of just doing my thing, mate. Just having a laugh, which is my main philosophy. Not taking life too serious and just going with it, mate. So yeah,
Yeah, I've seen your t-shirt in multiple videos. Just having a yeah, it's fun. Uh, yeah, I'm curious. I feel like the impression I'm getting is that you're this person who has a very clear identity of who they are and how they go and their approach to life. So I'm curious what would you say if I asked you like how this lifestyle is changing you? Yeah, what is the effect full-time travel is having on you?
I'll give one obvious negative, right? And I think this is a negative in terms of my own internal peace. Is that this travel lifestyle has increased anxiety and it's made me extremely restless.
Mm,
Before this, I was more relaxed. I've always had like huge amounts of energy, but within myself, my internal peace was much more at a calm level. Like now,
mm,
at this current stage, I am always very fidgety and restless to, right, what country can I go to now? What can I do in that country? How long will I travel it for? How can I navigate the budget there? And I'm always on, even when I'm supposed to be settling down to sleep at night or I'm watching something on Netflix, I'm always on in terms of travel. And I think, no, I
mm,
know that is a negative because I should be able to just really take some time to relax without constantly, whether it's a lot or it's in the back of my head, think about the next adventure. So that's what brings me back to what I said before. I'm trying to live very presently and in a way that I was before I started traveling.
mm,
And an obvious positive, and these are just to name a few, which is traveling has helped me to become even more confident. I've always been pretty confident as an individual, but traveling, because of the situations you and it puts your life in, the people you meet, the different awkward encounters, the awkward conversations, the different types of personalities you come into contact with. It has helped me to gain confidence and also, be a much better conversationalist. So those
mm,
are two of the positives that have really helped me with travel. And to add a third, obviously, it has helped me budget like an absolute boss when it comes to navigating certain countries, mate. So I'm really fortunate with that. But in terms of chilling out and having an afternoon nap, not so much.
mm. Yeah, yeah. I feel like with you, it's constant movement. Um, yeah. I mean, I don't want to pry too much, but I'm curious to ask you if you don't mind. Like, if you like, imagine stopping the constant moving. Let's say you gave yourself a month of reconciling, let's say, where your peace levels are. What do you think kind of like emotions would show up?
Frustration, I think. Um,
Mm,
I think it would take quite a while for me to settle into like a creature comfort baseline of life. just because I've got the comforts here, like in my family home, like I could live really, really comfortably and have an amazing life here, but I choose to
Mm,
go in the opposite direction just because I know that's where a good life in the future is going to come if I was to start a family or anything like that. So discomfort is a big part of progression in getting,
mm,
reaching your goals and ambitions. Um, but I think, yeah, frustration would definitely crop up. I would get angry at myself and those people around me for issues of my own. And I feel like I would be dropping off in terms of I just wouldn't be making the progression that I know deep down that I should be making. And that would be really annoying. Um, and I think if I'm not traveling, if I'm not posting videos, which is my drive, it's my purpose, I feel that is like my longing. I would question my existence. Like, what else am I going to do? Do I just wake up, have a coffee, watch Netflix all
mm,
day, and lick Dorito dust off my fingers all day? Like, what do I do? I know it's very easy to let your disciplines kind of fade away. It's really easy. So that's why I'm constantly
yeah.
booking new places, going to new places, doing this and doing that. And of course that comes with a negativity of restlessness. But at this stage, I'm hungry. I'm broke, mate. So I need to have that drive. In the future, that's not going to be the case. And that's what I'm doing while I'm doing it now. But yeah, I think
Mm,
it would have a positive effect maybe after a certain amount of time on me being calmer, but also a
mm,
negative effect on me not reaching the goals in the timeline that I would like to, which is kind of just to be, I know, just be more content with finances and have more options and freedom in life. If some of my mates say,
mm,
mate, do you want to go for a couple of beers? Like right now, in reality, I couldn't do it because I've got like 30 quid to my name. But in
mm.
the future, I hope to have a lot more than that. So it's going to give me options.
Yeah, I'm really excited to see how life goes for you. Yeah, please
Yeah,
keep posting, please keep sharing.
I
Because
will.
I believe the future is going to be good for you.
Thank you, brother.
I
I
really do.
appreciate it.
I like the way, yeah, I like your no holds barred mindset to life, and yeah, you've worked through a lot of stuff, and yeah, I think you're living a really cool life. I think you know that, and yeah, I think that belief is just going to take you to so many different places. But yeah, I've got a let's move on to like a quick lightning round, a bit
Sure.
more fun, a bit more shorter. So I've got five quick fire questions. Number one, a country that surprised you in the best way.
Pakistan.
Pakistan. A country that punched you in the face with a lesson. Ooh, okay. One belief about travel you now think is stupid.
That you need a lot of money to be able to travel.
One risk you'd never take again.
Climbing a ice mountain in Peru, in Huaraz in Peru, climbing a literal ice mountain. Never have done any ice climbing or snow climbing before, going up a mountain this way. And that's on the YouTube channel now. Go to my Peru playlist and have a look at that video. It is absolutely terrifying. Never again. Thank you very much.
I've not seen that one. I'll definitely watch it as soon as this finishes. And the final question: one moment you thought I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be.
Right now. This is exactly where I'm supposed to be right now. I've had many thoughts on it in the past of where the direction of my life is going. And I'm just happy after being very fortunate to have been able to travel now full time for the last 2 years, to be very comfortable within myself and my surroundings, to know that I'm back in Wales. I can enjoy this time. I can work on what I need to do in preparation for my next travels. And I can go to bed at night with peace and wake up with a smile on my face, knowing that there's nothing more that I need to do except for the stuff that I'm doing right now. So it is this moment in time.
Yeah, I love that. I thought you could go off on a tangent then and say yeah, life has brought you to this conversation with me. But you were thinking much bigger picture.
And that, of course, and
And
that,
then
Alex, and the
so
opportunity to be on your podcast, mate. Of course, fist bump.
that's what I wanted to hear. This one. I finished the show off with two closing questions. I ask these questions to everyone who comes on the show. What's the one place on earth you recommend everyone experience at least once in their life?
Do you know what I have to say? What started out the journey for me, and that is obviously Thailand. It feels like I'm like the ambassador for Thailand, but Thailand is just one of those places, like I said, it's easy, it's cheap, it's friendly, it's convenient. And I think a lot of people, more than the minority, will most likely fall in love with Thailand, its culture, and the experiences that it will provide if you give yourself the opportunity to go and visit. So for me, just because it also is in my heart for starting out this journey, I would have to say Thailand.
Mm. Yeah, before I ask you my final question, do you find like, I'm thinking back to Wales again, do you find the kind of the difference between people who grew up in Wales? Some people kind of choose the lads' holiday in like Magaluf and Ibiza, and some people do push themselves a bit more towards Thailand, and I find those people end up traveling more. Do you think there's something in there?
Ask that question again.
So I feel like growing up, most people growing up in Wales, they do like a lads' holiday, like Magaluf, Ibiza, Zante. But there are
Mhm.
some people who kind of push themselves to go ahead, end up in Thailand, and I find those people spend less time in Wales eventually. Do you think there's something in that thought process?
Yeah, I do. I do think that. I think like when you travel a little further afield than the likes of Zante or Benidorm and those weekend boozy retreats,
Mm,
you start to see that for one, you have to take much longer flights to get to these other countries, and you don't necessarily want to spend the time doing the same thing as you would in your home country or surrounding countries in a place that has so much more culture to offer. For example, people do fly to Las Vegas and they go on the booze there, or they'll go to Thailand and they'll spend a few days on a beer there. But if you really allow yourself to open up a little bit more to the culture, the partying scene and the necessity of wanting to do what you do back home kind of goes down, and it opens
mm,
your eyes up to more of, wow, there is so much more to life than just like doing what I can do back home. I can go and do so much more. And I think by traveling to longer distances and spending more time in a country allows you gives yourself permission to do those things. So yeah,
mm.
um, yeah.
Yeah, for me, I always told myself growing up, I was kind of like too British to live abroad. And I did the lads holiday thing, went to like Magaluf and Ibiza, but I spent my second year in Germany, and I was surrounded by people like, well, none of my friends are British apart from the people I went there with the university to, and that kind of just opened my eyes. And from that period of time, I went straight to China, and I was as extreme as possible. So yeah, I would say, yeah, do try something new, to anyone who's
Yeah.
listening. But yeah, the final question I want to ask you is, what would you say to the person who is about to, well, I guess there are several points in your life you could ask this. What would you say to the person who was about to leave and start filming and documenting his journeys? I guess 2 years ago now. What would you say to that version of Chrissy if you could go back and speak to him?
Do you know, not to big myself up too much here, but I think I did exactly what I needed to do. My friend bought me a GoPro. I didn't hesitate on filming or question the process or myself too much. We went out in Thailand on day one. I didn't think. I clicked the button and then I started talking. And I think, be proactive in just film. It doesn't matter necessarily what you're filming or how good the content is that comes out on the upload. The biggest thing is that you film and you keep uploading
Mm,
and you learn from every video that you put out there. And, I think Mr. Beast said this. He said, for the first 100 videos that you make and you put out there, no one's going to watch them. No one cares and no one will care. You'll watch
mm,
them, and maybe if your mum is nice enough, she might give them a watch too. But nobody cares for the first 100 videos. All that you can do as a creator starting out is learn something from each video. And by the time you've posted your 200th or 300th video, as overwhelming as that may seem, well, you're going to be a much better version of your present self by the time that comes around. So I think, look,
mm.
just just do it. Just do it. To steal from Nike's slogan, and not to think about things, and
Yeah,
definitely don't worry about who's going to watch it, what they're going to think of you. Look, life is short. Go and just do the thing. That's the biggest thing. Just go and do it, mate. So yeah,
yeah. You can
I've
just do
always
stuff like that.
I've always just been consistent, and consistency really is the key. And to not
Mm.
have too much of a overthinking mindset. Just go
Yeah,
follow this
yeah.
path.
I feel Yeah, I'm kind of in that mindset now. Obviously, just started this podcast and sharing stuff online, and yeah, already like I'm obviously not, yeah, doing about like 100 subs. My life is already changing. It's making me
Amazing.
more confident. It's giving me the skills to like reach out to people I would never would have reached out. And yeah, I never would have met you and had this conversation if I didn't start this podcast, for example. I'm really enjoying it, and yeah, I feel as a teacher, something like I want to push on my students to like you can't just go and do the thing. Life is so short and it's so precious. Just do something. You can just talk to someone you want to talk to. You can just make what you want to make. You can just do stuff. And yeah, especially like AI and how the world is changing, like putting yourself out there is becoming increasingly more important. But yeah,
And you
I'll
know
definitely keep
what?
following your journey. Yeah, go on.
Thank you. I think one huge thing as well is people think about doing a certain thing, and when they don't apply that action, there's that loop, isn't there? I'm always thinking, right, if I don't go and ask that girl for a number, if I don't make that video, if I don't go for the run that I need to burn some body fat, mate, this loop is continually going to be open, and that loop is just
I
going to
agree.
circulate in my head. I need to close that loop. Otherwise, I'm going to be thinking about the thing that I should have done for the next few days, and that is going to be more torturous than actually doing the thing. You know, I've had it way loads of time before. I should have asked that girl for a number. Why didn't you do it, mate? So I'm thinking about that for the next few days. Or the video that I didn't make, and there
Over
has been
years.
many. Exactly, mate. Exactly. So
Yeah.
like always aim to close the loop, no matter how awkward or painful or, you know, whatever else it may be. Close the loop for your own sanity, mate. Close that loop.
Mm. Yeah, I think that's a lovely golden nugget to end on. Yeah, that's the best way to bring yourself peace in life. Chrissy,
Sure.
mate. Do I call you Chrissy Boy or Chrissy, mate?
Mate, Chrissy Boy, Chrissy Mate, whatever you want, or Chrissy Boy Mate.
Chrissy Boy, Chrissy, mate. My respect to what you're trying to achieve and what you're working towards and what you've been through. Lovely to talk to you. Thank you so much for agreeing to be on the show. I've had a wonderful hour talking to you. Yeah, if you're ever
Amazing.
in China, give me a DM on Instagram, or if we cross paths in the country, I'll definitely try and buy you a beer or something.
Amazing.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank
Take
you,
care of
brother.
yourself, buddy.
Cheers, brother. Sweet little fist bump. What?
See you. Fist bump.
Yeah.
Cheers.
Cheers, mate. Bye.
Bye.